This is your kernel. For kernel, I'm going to write down OS. Okay, so let's say this is your P0, this is your P1. I told you in the last lecture that CPU does not remembers the processes as the by the name of the application, rather by some ID, process ID. Okay, so now context switching is when we take out one process from the main memory. Listen to it very carefully, because in the future I will be using the term context switching all the time. So context switching is when I take out process one process from the main memory and put it into the CPU, and put it into the CPU, and from the CPU, that after the task is being done, we take that process back and fetch it back into the main memory. So either way, even if we are performing this one or this one, this is called as your context switching. So, okay, in most of the diagram they don't show it like this. However, they would show it like this. Moving from one process to another process is called as your context switching. Okay, so our CPU performs multi-programming with the help of context switching. So look at this diagram to understand that. See here, I have process 0 here, I have process 1 here, and yes, process 1 here. So let us consider process P0 was initially executing in the CPU. Okay, so now process P1 needs the CPU time. Process P0 was executing, but process P1 needs the CPU time. So what does the CPU does is, the CPU will put this one is the operating system. Now what does the operating system does is, it will put a interrupt or system call to the process 0. So now remember that in the process states we have the interruption point. Okay, so if a process is running and some interruption occurs, remember that if the interruption is invoked implicitly, then it enters into the waiting state, then ready, then running. But if there is an interruption, then it does not go to the waiting, it directly goes to the ready state. Remember the transition diagram. Okay, so then an interruption is invoked. After an interruption is invoked or system call is invoked by the operating system, the process, okay, the currently running process has to be exited from the running state. Before that process is exited from the running state, look at here. What is written? Here we have written that save state into PCB0. So once an interruption is occurred for the process 0, before we directly take it out from the CPU, इससे पहले कि इसको CPU से निकाले, you have to save the current state of the process. And where do we save it? We save it, we update the PCB. Okay, process control block. We have discussed this in detail in the last lecture. Okay, so we save the current state of the process in the process P0. Okay, and then after we save it, that PCB0 is exited. Okay, PCB0, see here, it was executing till here. We have the execution mark here. See, I have a small execution mark here. Okay, I have a small execution mark here, and then after it is but the PCB is saved, we exited. Okay, so now this, after it is being exited, before the PCB1, now the process P1 is there in the CPU. See here, look at this diagram. Now process P1, see here, this one is the process P1. It was in the ready queue. Now it has to be brought. Now it is there in the ready queue, but it is not there in the CPU. So we have to load the PCB of process P1 from main memory to the to the CPU. Okay, so that is also going to take some time. So when the process P1 takes some time to get uploaded from the main memory to the CPU, until that time, see here, the CPU will stay idle. Okay, that means this is the time when neither P0 nor P1 is using the CPU. So that means till this time the CPU is idle. So after the PCB1, PCB of process P1 is reloaded into the CPU. Okay, then only the execution time for the PCB will be counted. So after PCB1 is uploaded into the CPU, see here its execution time begins here. So let us say that it was executing, it was continuously executing, and after a point of time, again, it is PCB1 or process P1 is interrupted, okay, interrupted, and now PC process P0 wants the CPU time. Then what do? Before we exit process P1, before we make the before we exit process P1 from the CPU, we save the state of the process P1 in the PCB. Process P1 will again be saved in the PCB. Okay, so after it is being saved, okay, it will be sent back to the main memory. It will be sent back to the main memory. Again, P0 is in the main memory. P0 it is in the main memory. It has to be taken out from the main memory and uploaded in the CPU. Okay, so this time again here is the time taken by the context switcher, the program that is performing context switch. It is taking this much time to save the PCB1, send it back to the main memory. From the main memory, take out process P0 and put it in the CPU. Okay, so this is the again idle time. See here, it is again the idle time. Till here, P1 is not doing anything because it is in the main memory. Again, saving time and reloading time. So after that, again, see here, I have the execution time bar beginning here. So this is again the execution time. So that means after PCB1 is reload state from PCB0, then from here only the execution time will start. That means if we are to look at this picture very carefully, then this picture will highlight one point. That is, there are only two steps. If I have multi-programming, let us say 10 processes are running, that means for each process, when context switch will happen, two steps will be performed over and over again. That is save state and reload state. First of all, we'll have to save the state of the current process P0 and reload the state of the process that you want to bring into the CPU. That means save state of currently running process, reload state of the coming CPU. Okay, so this is how we perform multi-programming. And from here, we can calculate the execution time and the idle time. Okay, so this bar here, this much is the execution time for P0, itna is the execution time for P0, and this much is the execution time for P0. This one is the idle time. Again, this much is the execution time for the P1. So if we will look at this picture carefully, again, this much of the time is not utilized because this much of the time is again idle. This much of the time is wasted. However, if we would not have performed multi-programming, then CPU would have been more idle. Why? Is because let us say this much it was executing and it needed to wait for the keyboard, mouse, scanner, printer. Then all of this time will be idle time because there will be no other process using it in the meantime. Okay, so if it is waiting for some yeah
मैम क्लियर स्क्रीन नहीं दिख रहा मैम, ब्लर दिख रहा है थोड़ा.
ये डायग्राम ना?
यस मैम.
Yeah, this diagram I have zoomed, that's why it is looking a little blur. Okay, iska mein allow me to check it in the internet if I have some clear picture. Okay, so this time is idle. See here, all of this time will be idle while it is interrupted, and then only the execution will start. So that means if it is a uni program, then we know that CPU itself is a resource, then we are not optimally utilizing the resources. But if I have multi-programming, then see here, out of this much of the idle time, at least we are using this much of the time. Okay, so that means again, if I have to mark here, this much is not the idle time. So idle time is reduced now. Let us say if it was 10 minutes, if it was 10 minutes earlier in uni programming, if the idle time is 10 minutes, then in uni programming we could see that it is almost, let us say, 6. We are optimally utilizing the resource in the form of CPU. Okay, so is it clear? Is this topic clear? Students, is this topic clear? Class, is this topic clear? Girls?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, others have got only 2 yeses.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so let me move to the next topic, that is your uni programming versus multi programming. So let us study that what is the difference between a uni programming and a multi programming. Okay, in uni programming, you will have only one single program under execution at a time. That means I have repeated it several times that in the CPU, there will be only one program at a time. That is the processor until dual core. Okay, now our laptop, our computer system has multiple cores. That means multiple processes. But prior to that, we used to have only one process. Okay, that means only one program is executing at a time, and that is your uni programming system. Okay, multi programming means you have multiple programs running at a time. That means I just taught you the picture wherein we continuously perform context switching and saving and reloading. Okay, so now in the uni programming, CPU or input output devices remains idle most of the time, that we have already seen. Okay, resources are idle most of the time. Okay, but here in multi programming, it is not idle most of the time, because we are utilizing, we are trying to best utilize the various forms of resources by constantly performing context switching. Okay, so in uni programming, because there is only one program, we do not need to perform, no context switching is required. But because in multi-programming we have multiple process, we constantly keep performing context switching. Okay, so here we have already studied that CPU utilization is not optimum. How I have already taught you. Okay, CPU utilization is not optimum. But in case of multi-programming, because we are making the CPU, if it is going idle, like if P0 is looking for some other form of resources rather than CPU, then we are performing context switching and we are asking CPU to execute something else. That means we are trying our best. The operating system is trying its best to keep the CPU busy all the time. Okay, so there are more differences between these two. You can look for it. Okay, so now tell me, is the idea or the concept of uni programming, multi programming, and how actually is it happening, कैसे हो रहा है, and where is it being performed, within main memory or your CPU? And to perform uni programming or multi programming, what is the approach? Is this all this topic clear to you all?
Yes, ma'am.
Others?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay then. So now we are going to study again very important topic. Okay, that's going to study very important topic, and many a times in the past competitive exams several questions has been asked, okay, from this topic. So let me write down the topic: cpu scheduling, but we do not call it as CPU scheduling, because in CPU we know that there are various components. So because here we are talking about processes, so we call it as process scheduling. Scheduling. But in many books, or if you guys are following some internet tutorials and all, they may use the term CPU scheduling, because we know that processor is in the CPU. So many researcher they use the term process scheduling, many researcher they use the term CPU scheduling. It is almost same. Okay. Okay. So now we know that if we have more than one programs, okay, if we have more than, let me say, process at a time, we need to perform context switching. And the context switching is happening in the CPU. We are taking out one process and we are inserting another process into it. Okay. So process scheduling, why that means why are we performing process scheduling? Process scheduling is needed to be performed. Listen carefully. We need to perform process scheduling if we want our computer to achieve multi-programming. अगर हम चाहते हैं कि हमारा जो कंप्यूटर हमने खरीदा है वो मल्टी प्रोग्रामिंग वाला हो, and we obviously want that, then we need to perform process scheduling. Okay. So now process scheduling may we perform scheduling queues, okay? Because without queue, there is no way to do it. Something will be in the queue and something will be in the execution, and will be constantly swapping in and swapping out something. Okay. So for process scheduling, the first thing that we must. The first thing that we need to do for process scheduling, the first thing that we need to do for process scheduling is we should scheduling queues. We have to schedule queues. Okay, that means we should be keeping multiple processes in queues, so that when we are done with one of the process, then we have another process in the queue. Okay, so now that means we'll have lots of job in the queue. Okay, so now scheduling queues are done in 3 steps. Okay, the first is we maintain the job queue. Job means task. Okay, for example, if you have a process in your main memory where you have calculator, okay, it will be considered as a job. Another, if you are writing something, you need a text editor, that is again a job. So if you want to schedule queues, that means if scheduling means okay, so the best example is you have been given the timetable. Okay, so you are one single class, even one, let us say that one single class, instead of calling it as one single class, you are, allow me to call you as 5 processes. Okay, because you have 5 subjects, and for each of this subject, okay, one schedule has been prepared before the beginning of the semester. I call it the schedule as the timetable. Okay, so why did I started taking classes at 9:30? Because after 10:30 there was no slot free. Okay, so you told me, ma'am, Monday and Wednesday we are occupied during this slot as well. So we have chosen Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Okay, so scheduling means preparing a timetable. And why are we preparing timetable? Because there are lots of jobs. For example, you have operating system. I don't know what all subject you have. So I'm just going to make the name of the subject: operating system, data structure, C, COA, mathematics. So you have all these subjects. So, and all these subjects cannot be taken at 9:30 to 10:30, right? So we have scheduled it in different time slot. So first of all, we need a scheduling queue. That means we need to have a plan that, okay, operating system, data structure, C, COA, and maths will be taught in the second semester. So these are the 5 processes that are ready. That means these are the 5 processes in the queue. Okay. So what are these processes? I have named it. Okay. So we prepare a job queue, and then after we prepare a job queue, we will also have to prepare a ready queue. That means queue, yeah, like allow me to write down one. Okay, so this is your two. That means job queue is just preparing the list, what all are there. For example, preparing the list: operating system, data structure, mathematics, COA, and C. Okay, so all these will be there. So now out of all these, we have to prepare the ready queue. Which one is ready for execution? So 9:30 operating system is ready for execution. 10:30 mathematics is ready for execution. Okay, so making a queue that which one is ready, not running. Okay, which one is ready for execution. And the third is we have to make a list of what all resources are ready. Okay, so what all resources are ready and free. Input output devices queue. UE. So what all input devices you have? The moment this computer is turned on, the operating system will read the inputs. Okay, one keyboard, one mouse. Now, if I'll add one more mouse to it, you know that at the top, one message will come on this side and it will show a new device has been detected, preparing to install the requirements. Because now we need two, there are two resources for your mouse. Okay, so accordingly, if I give input from the mouse of my keyboard, that must be read. And also if I give the input from the connected mouse, that must also be read. So if I have multiple copies of the same resources, that must also be there in the queue. If I have only one copy of the resources, that must also be read. Okay, so scheduling queue, in process scheduling, the first step is to schedule the queue. That means we have to prepare the job queue, and then the ready queue, and then the input output devices. Okay, so your job queue is, if in layman term, your job queue is, if as processes enter the system, they are put into a job queue. This queue consists of all the processes in the system, and this job queue will not be there. Remember, these are often asked in the question in the exams. So remember that this job queue will be there in your main memory. Okay, so your job queue, because it's in the ready queue. Okay, so it will be there in the main memory. It is not there in the CPU. Job queue will not be there in the CPU. CPU comprises of processors. I have been repeating it constantly. The reason is, even after repeating it so many times, students do mistakes. Okay, so in the CPU we have processor. In each processor, at a given point of time, only one process can be there. Okay, but in the main memory we can have multiple processes. So job queue is there in the main memory, not in the CPU. So in the theory or in the books, you will find scheduling queue, job queue, all the processes will be there. But in the competitive exam, they will not ask you in job queue how many, in scheduling queue, what are the steps. No, they won't ask that. What they will ask you is, job queue is maintained in the, they will give you multiple choice: main memory, CPU, assembler, bus. Okay, so you have to select CPU. Is that clear? So that is your job queue. So now your ready queue is the processes that are residing in the main memory and are ready and waiting to execute are kept on a list called the ready queue. I've already told you that. And your input output devices, when a process is allocated in the CPU, it executes for a while and eventually quits as it needs some form of your input output request. That means it is interrupted it will wait for that resource. If it's free, it will use it. But if it's not free, it will wait for the resource to be free. Okay, then only it will be using it. Okay, so is it clear? Is this clear? If it's yes, I will explain to you the queuing diagram. Is the process scheduling clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
All of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Only one? Okay. Students,
Yes, ma'am.
please feel free to clarify your doubts. Okay. And if they're like, I don't know who was that, but one student mentioned that the screen was not clear, so I've tried to make it clear. Okay, so that means by that what I'm telling is, don't hesitate to feel your share your problem. You don't feel that okay, ma'am will take a note of the names, she will like target that student. No, nothing like that. I'll not even remember who have asked me what. Okay, so do not hesitate to share your problems. Do not hesitate to ask your questions, no matter if you think it's the stupidest question or ma'am have already repeated it this many number of times. No, if I have repeated it number of times, I may feel agitated and I may scold you, but I will not even remember that I scold you. And if you think you're near your friends, you will be put down. Don't even think that. After 2.5 years, you will get your degree, and when you go for some exams, then not your friends will not come to help you, to near whom you are trying to keep your respect. Nothing like that. Your life, your choice, you have to design it. Okay, so please feel free to share your problems. I'm open to discussing it. If you want me to repeat something, I will repeat it as many number of times as I am unable to explain it to you. If you are not understanding, then trust me, I'm not thinking that you are not capable. I am thinking I am not being able to explain. मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि मैंने अच्छे से explain नहीं किया. And if I'm speaking too fast, you remind me. If my screen is not any issue, because this is a virtual class going on, so I have to be very considerate, and I try to be considerate. This is just because of my health that I have been not been able to continue with the classes. Recently, I contracted with the infection that is going around, so I couldn't do it. My health was in pathetic condition, so I couldn't take your classes. I'm still recovering. Okay, so I may lack something, so you please feel free to share your problems regarding my classes. Okay, so if there is anything I can be of your help, just tell me. I'll try to do it. I understand the difficulties in the online classes. It may turn boring. You are not seeing me, I'm not seeing you, and the same thing is going on for all the lectures. But try to cope up, because you know the situation. If you will cancel the classes, postpone the classes, wait for the offline classes, then trust me, we will not be at loss. It will be you guys who will be at the loss. क्योंकि आप लोगों का मंथ से साल से करियर का कितना ईयर गैप हो जाएगा. Okay, so it is, even the online classes is there for your benefit, because we will keep getting our salary whether we take classes or not, but you will lose your years, and these years are not going to come back. Okay, and because you are studying, taking online classes, that means in the future when we will write your job exams for your jobs, then the people who will check your papers or take your interviews, they will not say, oh, you have studied, okay, your degree was during the COVID time, that means online classes were going on, oh bechara, you might not have been able to understand the topic. Okay, okay, let it go, the job is yours. No, no one is going to do that. Okay, so no one will be this considerate to you. So try to cope up right after classes, at the when all the classes are done for the day, whatever topics were there, do self study. If you don't understand, you take a note of that, you can ask me. Okay, you can clear your doubts. Not, I don't think the just my subject, all the teachers are welcoming from our department, so you can approach teacher, you can clarify your doubts, but try to be interactive. Otherwise it becomes monotonous. If somebody wants to take a break and somebody thinks of some joke, after I finish a topic, you can tell ma'am, let's take 2 minute break. Okay, I will take 2 minutes or 3 minutes break. Meantime, if somebody wants to share some joke, So you can write in the chat box, okay, I have a joke. And then after I finish a topic, you can unmute your mic and share your jokes. That way, it will be like a fun class. Okay. I'm not very good at jokes. अगर मैंने जोक भी बताया, जोक खत्म हो जाएगा, सामने वाला हंसता ही नहीं है. Okay, उसको पहले तो उसको समझ ही नहीं आता है कि it's a joke. So some people are very good at cracking jokes. They even make a stupid thing sound so funny. Okay, so that ways we can continue and make our classes interactive. Okay, so let's not make it a boring class. Okay, is it clear, guys? You can ask me questions. Okay, nothing like that. Please feel free to share. And if sometime it gets exhausting, okay, अगर एक student को exhausting हो गया, then तो I will not be considering. But if there are multiple students who feel कि मैम आज के लिए हो गया, then I'll stop right there. It's not important for me to. My concept is very simple and clear. I am interested in finishing the syllabus only if you have the capability to understand it all. Okay, but if you cannot, then I will teach little by little how much you can take it. Okay, and that ways we will go. Okay. Okay, so this is it. Okay, so let me again go back to the topic. So now there is a diagram. Okay, I need to teach you, I need to explain that how I was talking about queues. Okay, there are queues that are meant in scheduling. See here, here you have already seen that in process scheduling we have to schedule queues, obviously, because if we want our CPU to be optimally used, we have to have multiple queues. That means we have to have multiple processes in queue for execution. Okay, so we maintain a queue, and that queue is before running. Before running means obviously waiting comes after running, so it is before ready or in the ready queue में आने से पहले और ready queue तक we do the scheduling. Okay, process scheduling. So for that, there is a diagram. I was about to draw it, but because of my a little distraction from the topic, time थोड़ा चला गया है. So let me find the diagram if I can get it in the internet to save QUEUINT. Save time. Okay. For process scheduling. Okay, students, is this diagram clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so this is how a queuing. This is how the queuing is done. Okay, queue. आपको queue तो पता. Okay, is there anyone who doesn't know queue? Because I have been using the term queue. Does everyone understands queue here? Anyone who does not understand, if I'll get even a single no, I'll explain to it. Okay, so no no's. So I'm going back to my topic. Okay, so now this is how a scheduling queue is handled. Okay, so now you know that this is the ready queue. Okay, that means this is where there are programs. There are multiple programs that are listen to my words carefully. This is where we have multiple programs ready to be converted into multiprocessing. Okay, multi-programs ready to be converted into multiprocessing, but all of them are there in the ready queue. That means, listen to me very carefully, students. That means ये मैं दिमाग में आता हूँ. Ready queue is मैं दिमाग में आता हूँ, CPU में नहीं. Okay, एक there is a सलमान खान का dialogue. तो जो ready queue है, we will have multi programs, but these multi programs are there in the main memory. We want to convert these multi programs into multi-processing. We want to convert this multi-program into multi-processing. This is done in the CPU. We have here multiple programs are stored in the main memory. Okay, so how do we handle the ready queue? So in the ready queue we have multiple programs. Okay, so from here how do we perform multiprocessing? So out of the ready queue, one of the program will enter into the CPU. Okay, so from the CPU it will continue with the execution. This is the execution time. So now if it does not needs any of the other resources, if it needs only CPU to complete its task, it will go into the CPU, complete the task, it will exit. But if it is of such type of process like your calculator, it needs input output request because it needs to read the value from the keyboard. Okay, so in that case, when the CPU is when the program is reading values from the keyboard, we know that an interrupt has occurred. And we know that when remember the transition diagram, यहाँ पे हमारा ready queue हुआ करता था, and we used to have here ready queue, here running, and here waiting. Okay, so from the ready we go to the running, and if some interruption occurs, then from the running we go to the running ready state. And if that input output, if the interruption has not occurred implicitly, if we have made it occur, then it enters into the waiting. From the waiting it goes to the ready state. There is no self loop here. That means after it is waiting for some resource, it will not be there in the same state. For waiting, it has to go into the waiting state. Okay, okay, so now CPU, if it needs no resources, it will complete the task, exit. If it needs some resource, then it will exit. Okay, it will exit, it will enter into the waiting state. Okay, so it will invoke a input output request. I want the keyboard. So after it invokes I want keyboard, it will enter into the input output queue. Why? Because along with the let us say you have divided this window into two parts. On this side you have opened calculator, and on this side you have opened your word file. So you are writing, while you are writing आप यहाँ पे लिख रहे हो कीबोर्ड से, can you, it is my question to you guys, while you are writing in something in the editor, can you write something in the calculator at the same time? Can you do that? Students, yes or no? Can you do that at the same time?
No, ma'am.
Very good. No. Okay. So while we are writing something in the Word, we have to exit from here. That means we are putting it into the calculator was in the queue, and then we were writing something here. So once we are done, we go back to the calculator. That means again Word is in the queue. Okay, so that means there might be at times multiple processes which needs the same resource. In that case, we need to maintain an input output queue. So the moment it gets the input output, calculator ne input output le liya, so it will enter into the ready queue. It will get the CPU, complete the task. If you do not need calculator anymore, you terminate it. Okay. So other thing that may happen is time slice expired. At times, like applications like online banking. So it needs, now you have written sbionline.com, a page opens, net banking you choose, then you are redirected to a page where you have to insert your username and password. So now username and password needs your keyboard time, and if you have then without your knowledge, a session is created. And if you will not insert your username and password within, let us say the portal takes 30 seconds. Within 30 seconds, it enters into the time slice zone, and within 30 seconds, if you will not enter that username and password, you will if you will enter that username and password, you enter into the ready queue. Even if you do not enter, okay, even if you do not enter, you enter into the ready queue, that page has again to be reloaded. You are familiar with that. Okay, but in this case we do not have any queues here time slice में. Okay, वो उसका personal था, उसको time चाहिए था, so accordingly it will function. But now what happens many a times is there are many processes. Okay, there are many processes that forks a child. That means allow me to draw a diagram. That means there is a process that is currently running. Okay, let us say P0. So while this process is running, at this point of time, along with the parent process, it forks a child. That means it invokes or it creates another sub process. A sub process. Let's see this diagram. This is continuing. The parent is continuing. Okay. Along with the parent process, it forks a child. That means it gives birth to another sub process. It may happen so again this sub process may fork some more child, or this parent child, while it was continuing, it will continue to continue and it will fork one more child. This may also happen. Okay, so when a big process is giving birth to some sub process within itself, we call it as fork a child. So that means after a, I'll give you an example of that, don't worry. There was one process, it entered into the main memory, that is the ready queue, it got the CPU. So while it was executing, it realized that it needs to create one more child of the main process. In that case, it will come out of the CPU again. Okay, so it will have to execute the child. When it is done executing the child, it will again go back to the ready queue and then get the CPU time. Why is this happening is because while it was already there in the CPU, so while it needed something, why is it coming out, why is it not staying, is because of the transition diagram. We know that in the running state, whatever other than execution is required, it has to come out of the CPU and it must either go to the ready queue or it must go to the waiting state. Okay, because we treat it as some form of interruption. So let me take an example of fork a child. This is your Word file. You are writing something in the Word file. After you are done writing first page, you want to continue writing second. However, in the meantime, you want to print. Okay, so you give the control P command. Let us say these are 20 pages. Okay, so this is your 21 page. So the printing this 20 page, control P 1 to 20. You have given the command. So it is continuously printing. लेकिन यहाँ पे it has forked a child. That means it has called one more child process, wherein the child process takes the command of printing it. So while these 20 pages are being printed by the sub process, this parent process is continued to writing. Okay, you may choose. आपको नहीं लिखना, it's okay. You want to write it, it's okay. It is completely dependent upon the application. But if you want to continue, then we should enable it to continue its task. Okay, so this is how forking a child is done. So another way in which the running process can enter into the ready queue is it was executing in the CPU. Now some interruption has occurred. Wait for an interrupt. Okay, let me take the same example. After the 20th, you are done, you have saved it, you have given the command control P. Okay, but there is often, we know that there is sometimes some problem occurs with the printer and all. Okay, so unknowingly some interruption has occurred. Okay, we do not know what is it because we did not invoke it. There is some problem with the printer, some command problem, something. So it comes out of the CPU, it will wait for an interrupt to clear or occur, and then the interrupt occurs, we have to solve it. Or if we invoked it like wait for the keyboard, then it will wait for it and it will enter into the ready queue. Okay, so this is how we handle the queues in the process scheduling. Okay, so is it clear? Any queries from this topic?
No, ma'am.
Okay, other students, any queries?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, then we'll do one thing. We'll stop here for today. Okay. So let me give you a brief summary of what all topics we studied. Today we studied only two topics, no, three topics. Okay. So the three topics that we studied is how do we use PCB, process control block, in handling multi-program. PCB का use कैसे होता है? What is the use of PCB? Or in exam you may be asked, how do we perform multi-programming? Okay, so do not exit right now. I need to take your attendance. Okay, so the students do not exit. I need to take your attendance. So the first topic that we studied is multi-programming कैसे होता है. We learned that it happens with the help of PCB, and then we studied how do we do it with the help of PCB. Okay, the second topic we studied is the difference between uni-programming and multi-programming. That means if there is only one program running and there are multiple programs running, so what is the difference? Okay. So the third topic that we studied is process scheduling. In process scheduling, we learned that there are various things, but out of the various things we studied to handle queues. In process scheduling is only done if we process scheduling, listen carefully, process scheduling is only required if we have multiple processes. But if we do not have multiple processes, if we have only one process, then we do not need multi-processing, right? There is only one single process. It will get the CPU, it will get it done. But if we have multiple processors that are fighting to get the CPU time, then we need to schedule them. That, for example, if you had only operating system as a subject in your second semester, was there any need for me to find for a schedule? No, I could have taken it at any time on any day. But because there are multiple processes, that is, there are multiple subjects, I need to find a free slot before I take your classes. Okay, so we need to schedule them. That means there is a queue of jobs, OS, data structure, etc., etc. So the first thing under process scheduling that needs to be done is there are more to process scheduling. We have studied only one thing. And the first one thing that needs to be done in process scheduling, we have to schedule the queue. Like before we form the timetable, we need to have the subject. That means we need to schedule the subjects. We need to schedule what all subjects are there. Okay, so in that subjects, what do? We form a job queue, list of subjects, ready queue, what is ready to be taught. For example, today first operating system, like that. And then as I get this slot, what all resources I need, that has to be booked. If it was an offline class, then the resources that I would be needing is a classroom, duster, marker, whiteboard, benches for you to sit down, books, notebook, etc. These are the resources. Okay, so we make ready the queue, and what are the various resources associated with the queue, and as and when CPU gets free, how do we handle it? Okay, so these were the topics. And yes, after that we studied the queue diagram. That these are the theoretical aspect, but how does it happens in real time by the operating system, that we studied with the help of queuing diagram. Okay, so while I'm checking your attendance, tell me if you have understood the topic that we have discussed today or not.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just wait for a few minutes while I'm checking if it has noted down your attendance. Okay, students, it has not taken your attendance by itself, so just wait for a while. Students, is there any difficulty that you're facing while the Google is noting down your attendance? Okay, any difficulties?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay, so very soon I'll take your sessional. Okay, so continue to prepare your notes. Kyunki I think I'm about to finish. Let me check your syllabus, how much I've done. Mm, Okay, so I think by this week I will complete your first unit. Okay, so I've started with your process scheduling. I've just given the introduction only. By this week, I'm hopeful that I'll finish your first unit, and then probably by Monday, coming Monday or Tuesday, I will take your first session. So continue to prepare notes at your end. And if there is any topic that is doubtful, you may ask me, okay? Why is it taking so much of time today? Thank you, Lera. Okay, class, it's done. So if you do not have any queries now, you may exit the classroom.
Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome.
Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome. Okay.
पोहा के साथ चाय दे दूं, ब्रेड भी दूं।
हाँ, नहीं सिर्फ पोहा के साथ चाय। Akash,